Welcome to the premiere episode of TMoney Interviews. Every so often in a particular craft, we come across someone or something that simply takes our breath away. In music, prime examples of this come from witnessing the Beatles' first performance on The Ed Sullivan Show, or seeing Michael Jackson do the moonwalk for the first time at Motown 25. In auto racing, examples of these moments come from Donnie Allison battling Cale Yarborough at the Daytona 500 in 1979, to Rick Mears chasing down Gordon Johncock at the Indianapolis 500 in 1982. From the great Ayrton Senna winning the Brazilian Grand Prix with only 6 gear in 1991, to Jeff Gordon simply taking the racing world by storm. In the film industry, every generation of film goers witnessed that one moment that symbolizes the rise of a star. From when Roger Ebert went to the 1967 Chicago Film Festival and witnessed the first film from a then 25-year-old Martin Scorsese, to a 31-year-old writer-director from Tennessee whose 1994 Palme d'Or winning film Pulp Fiction took the independent film world by storm. We look at that particular craft and we keep our eyes out for the next generation who will make their marks as those names mentioned above. Patrick Hogue is a prime example of the next generation of filmmakers. He has showcased this writing and directorial talent in Moments, Aquarius, The Selection, and Coming Home. He has showcased his acting abilities in short films such as Natalie, Fight Shy, Home, and Haunted. The premiere screening of his spring semester film, SHERMAN, will be held this Tuesday night, May 16th, in Carlson Auditorium on the campus of Rochester Institute of Technology. Patrick Hogue, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today.
Here, Thomas, it is a pleasure and an honor to be kickstarting this hopefully soon to be fruitful series that you'll be doing.
I certainly hope so too, man. I'm really happy that you could take the time to talk with me today.
So, happy to do it, man. Happy to do it.
So let me start off by asking, where did it all begin for Patrick Hogue?
Where did it all begin? Well, first off, let me let's hope that one day those comparisons are apt in terms of the Beatles and Martin Scorsese. Still waiting to get there, but where it all started was kind of as a young little lad who was born in Nova Scotia in Canada, who moved to upstate New York in 5 years and has lived in this small town of Scottsville his entire life and dreamed of making movies. And then one day went to school, and after discovering YouTube for the first time and seeing all these different people online who were discovering that, you can, like, even if you're from a small town, if you got a camera, you can start making movies. I don't know, like, the world just started getting a little bit bigger. And so this small kid from Nova Scotia who soon moved to upstate New York is now at college, about to graduate, move out to LA. And yeah, I think that's where it all started. Film came in along the way, and here we are.
That's awesome. I guess we can piggyback that onto the next question. What was that, looking back on your 22 years at this point, what was that one moment that instantly sparked Patrick Hogue's journey into wanting to become a writer filmmaker?
Well, it's weird because there really isn't one defined moment, because I always, growing up, I was looking for what would the cool job to do be. Movies were never an option. Movies were always that thing that just kind of existed. Like, you heard the name Steven Spielberg, you heard the name Tarantino, but they weren't real people. These were just like magical things that were made for my entertainment. It's not like I could have a job doing that. I was going through high school figuring out, well, I want to be a cop, I want to be an astronaut, I want to be a video game player, like all these cool things. And it started like this inception of like, do you remember Fred on YouTube? The high-pitched?
Oh yeah, Fred. Yeah.
It was kind of the first stakeholder of like this kid from obscurity just put on a camera and like became famous. And it was that thing of like, well, I can try to do that. I can't do it, but I can try. And I don't know, like, I started making YouTube videos, and I started like, well, let me take it back for a second. There are two films that really kind of made me realize, oh, movies are an option. And the first one is just a movie from like my childhood, which is my favorite movie, and that's Back to the Future. And that is a movie that has always been influential on me. But like I was never conscious of like, oh, that's what I want to do one day. But 2010, I went to go see The Social Network in theaters. And I came out of that movie and I loved it, but that was the first time I ever asked myself, I wanted to know what camera they shot that on. And like I started like researching that, and I started researching, oh, like there's something called a cinematographer, there's something called, you know, director of photography, composer, and like seeing what a crew is. And it just kind of just started to like steamroll from there. Like, oh, could I be a part of this? Or like, what kind of people do this in my area? Not a lot, turns out. And so it was just kind of this slow progression of like that, along with I was doing these kind of dumb YouTube videos and working with my parents saying, well, I do this. And yeah, I think like that's probably the most influential point of like The Social Network got me into filmmaking. Sorry, there's a loud noise going on out here.
No, it's all good. That's why these are live. You know, anything can happen.
Spontaneous.
Yep. So who were you, so as far as actors and directors, who were your biggest inspiration in addition to Steven Spielberg? Who were your biggest inspirations as far as from actors and directors are concerned?
Actors, it was more like just the humble, cool dudes that I feel like I could hang out with. I don't know, like I've always loved Joseph Gordon-Levitt from like a young age. Like, so he just seems like a real guy, and it's like, oh, I want to be a real guy who can be in like big blockbusters. Then you start researching and doing like, I respect people like Daniel Day-Lewis. Like he was always somebody, like even when I was younger, of like, this is a guy who doesn't look at acting as childish. Like, you know, he like takes it with the utmost, like as most actors do, but like he takes it to the next level. And like I've always respected that. In terms of filmmakers, you go to film school and you see like, oh, I want to be the Tarantino, I want to be like, you know, the Spielberg, and like for a long time I always wanted to be the Nolan, the Christopher Nolan of like, oh, I can tell these like, you know, intertwining timelines and complicated stories with weird concepts. And I don't know, as I've developed more, I start to gain more of an appreciation. Like, you know, Damien Chazelle, I saw Whiplash and was like, oh, I want to make a movie like that. I want to, you know, like Matthew Vaughn has such unique styles. Like these directors who like really influence, Guy Ritchie just puts himself into the movie. And you get these like little indie directors who are fighting like, I forget who was the guy who directed It Follows, but I don't know, that's just such a uniquely feeling movie. And a lot of that is such in the direction that, yeah, for the long-winded answer, there's a couple people, but in high school, it was mainly Nolan, because I was like, oh man, he makes neat, cool stories that I want to tell.
Very cool. Why did you choose Rochester Institute of Technology as the place to learn about film production?
It's funny with a school with technology in the name, it wouldn't be known for its artistic merit. And it's kind of a shame because there really is no good promotional push from this school to let people know how damn good, pardon the language, it really is film schools in the country, and nobody knows about it. And that upsets me. I kind of just chose it because it was local, and it's like, oh yeah, they make film stuff here. And I took a tour, and they like showed you now, like right now I'm in one of our conference rooms where we meet with people. Just
Sure.
down the hall, we have like soundproof edit suites, soundproof recording rooms. And over the summer, I was in LA interning at a company, and I was with other people from other film schools. RIT we have what is called craft tracking, where when you go to film school, mainly like the thought is like, oh, you become a director, you make films, you do that kind of thing. Well, here we do what is called craft tracking, where yeah, freshman year we'll make everyone has to make a film. One has to be on a Bolex, which is an actual reeling film camera. You have to get it developed, process. Then you move on to like a digital camera. But then as you start to spread throughout the years, you can choose what you want to do. Whether it's if you want to just do sound design, if you just want to do cinematography, if you just want to do art direction. And RIT, Rochester Institute of Technology, doesn't really tell people that. And I didn't know that initially, but going to other film schools and knowing the kind of tech like people have, and seeing how much people don't get on film sets. Like they put cameras in your hands and say, go make movies. I've made 7 movies here so far. That's ridiculous. You shouldn't be allowed to do that. So yeah, it's like, you wouldn't think it, but RIT, Rochester Institute of Technology, is one of the best film schools that nobody knows about.
Very cool. That's awesome to hear. When the late, great Roger Ebert attended the 1967 Chicago Film Festival, he witnessed a film from a then 25-year-old Martin Scorsese called Who's That Knocking at My Door? The first time I truly witnessed your talent, Patrick, was after seeing The Selection. How did you first come across the Shirley Jackson short story, The Lottery, which The Selection is loosely based, and what inspired you to make The Selection?
That was one of always the required readings in high school, sophomore year. Like one of the always stuck with me, but there was in The Selection. It wasn't initially in my head of like, oh, this was an adaptation of Shirley Jackson's The Lottery. It was towards the end that I was like, oh, no, I guess I was influenced by that. It does deserve to be credited. For me, I'm a huge horror fan. And I wouldn't at all call The Selection a horror film. I think it's more just a drama, kind of tenseful film. But I've always liked that feeling of Lovecraftian cosmic horror, where it's like these small people in these intimate settings are dealing with these grander threats and these grander like kind of implications, such as this town that's being like overwatched by this horrible thing. For that one mainly, I wanted to instill a sense of pure atmosphere and pure, like, take kind of a bigger concept and ground it into more of a emotional kind of grounding point with this family. I made 3 films before then, and I just wanted to try something that was a little harder, something with a bit bigger of a cast that I'd never done before. So yeah, it was just kind of like I wanted to tell like stories that usually don't get told in short form, which are these kind of bigger horror concepts on a more intimate, smaller scale.
Very cool. Let's see. Now, through some of the throughout your filmmaking career so far, whether it be like films like The Selection or Coming Home, etc., do you think that one day we will see, or we could possibly see your short films expanded into full-length features?
Now, I don't think so.
Okay.
I am developing feature ideas, but those concepts, I think there is no plan. Let's put it like that.
Okay.
I haven't made anything as a pitch video of like, oh, I made this short, let me like expand it into something bigger. But you know, never say never. One day, maybe.
Very cool. This upcoming Tuesday night, your latest project, SHERMAN, premieres. What is the story behind SHERMAN, and what inspired you to choose it as your thesis project?
I do want to correct one piece of information. I believe I misinformed you. It's actually going to be this Sunday night.
Sunday night, okay.
The 14th. That's my bad. Well, that's the hope. We are just about to finish it, and I have to submit it for a first screening time, and my plan is Sunday night.
Sunday night.
If not, then so mark your calendars.
Mark your calendars to all those who are watching.
I'm sorry, what was the original question again?
It's all good. It's all good. The question was, SHERMAN premieres this Sunday night, and what is the story behind what is the story behind SHERMAN, and what inspired you to choose this story as your thesis project? So, like, tell us a little bit about the movie, that type of thing.
It's well, the basic premise. It's about a man named Freddie who comes home for his father's funeral.
Okay.
He's been living away. And he has a sister and a mother, his sister Jen, his mother Margaret. And while they're kind of mourning over this loss, Freddie is more concerned with finding Sherman, the family cat that's kind of gotten loose and is walking around the town. So the sister decides that I need to go get him, because, like, especially in this moment of kind of emotional despair, we kind of need to be a cohesive unit in all of this. And it's very different than most everything I've done. Coming home, I wanted to do something dark, and horror. Selection, I wanted to do something dark, and with Sherman, there was very much a intentional effort to do something a bit more, still dealing with the concept of death and loss. And without getting too dramatic here, my father passed away 7 years ago, and so I had to I don't know, and it was, death has always been something that's been very interesting to me, because it is a unifier among everybody. We're all going to die one day. And so the drama that is associated with that, I think, is very palpable and is very relatable, whether or not people have yet to deal with the direct impact of death. Sherman wasn't my first thesis idea, though. I wrote 2 other scripts. One was an action movie freshman year that I thought was so cool, and it was about this guy who busts into this warehouse, and he's like the cool action hero. His name was Kurt Locker, and he busts in, he kills everybody, kills all these henchmen, and kills the main guy and gets out of there. And then we slowly push into one of the dead bodyguards, and we flash back to see his entire life, and we see that this guy wasn't supposed to be there. And all these action movies where we see these henchmen get killed off, some of them have lives. We don't know their story and kind of the impact of human life that we kind of take for granted. And that was a really dumb idea to do for a thesis film, because it was a big action movie and I just couldn't have done it. The second idea was about, it was this story about this girl who befriends this magical creature and the person who invented this creature. And it was about her dealing with the loss of her mother and her moving out to the woods with her father. And it was still this bigger story with these magical and fantastical elements, but it wasn't clicking, it wasn't feeling right. And it was just, I was losing track about what this thesis should have been. And for me, when I wrote Sherman, finally, it kind of clicked in that the thesis wasn't supposed to be the biggest thing that I do. It wasn't supposed to be the grandest. It was just supposed to be what I can do well. It was supposed to be taking the smaller elements and doing them as best as possible. Sherman is just 2 people walking around sidewalks talking about their feelings, but I wanted to do that really well. It's not a grand story, it's not an action movie, but it's intimate and it's emotional and it's a smaller scale. And for me, there's a unique challenge to that. I wanted to get the best performance as possible. I wanted to, through line, make as much sense as possible. And so, yeah, that's kind of the ideology behind it. There was a lot of direct intentions I had with making Sherman. There's a lot of emotional beats I wanted to hit. There were a lot of specific tones I wanted to hit. But with any movie, a lot of it just kind of happened along the way. A lot of this, there's very much a cheerful element to Sherman that just happened through the filming that I wasn't expecting. Yeah, it's kind of the overarching through line of it.
Very cool. All right. Word association. I'm going to say the names of 10 directors.
All right.
Throughout and you can give me 1-word answers, or tell put a little tidbit of how they inspired you, etc. Okay.
Okay.
We'll start with the big dog. We'll start with the big dog of them all, Martin Scorsese.
And I only answer in 1 word.
Well, you can say word association, you could say 1 word. You could say a sentence. You can answer it however you want. Quite honestly.
Okay. Him, I associate energy. I love his energy. He always taking what should be just a typical scene with 2 people talking and just infusing energy to it.
That's awesome. Yeah. All right, we're gonna go back for this next one. Cecil B. DeMille.
It's just reverence. There's something about just kind of at the time creating something that is to be respected for eons. That's a very grand statement, but I think the simplicity in that is just from such an early on, forging such a path and such an industry where it's hard to do that. I don't know, there's a reverence there I have for that.
Tim Burton.
Uniqueness, style, that's, I just respect. I don't know if I have a style, I just want to be able to tell a story well, but like Tim Burton has a style and he knows how to show it. He has something in his head and he just knows what'll make it come alive, and I respect that so much.
That's awesome. Joel Schumacher.
Diverse. As much as people crap on Batman and Robin, and unlike the neon, the goofiness of it, he still made Phone Booth. He made Tigerland with Colin Farrell, and he made Phantom of the Opera. So I don't know, he's just like, I respect a director who just doesn't stay within the same pigeonhole that some people think they're in.
George Lucas.
What's a visionary? Yeah. There's something about taking something that's in your head and making it and showing it, and it's literally creates a world that has limitless possibilities. It's just, there's something about that of like, there are literally limitless possibilities with stories that can be told in Star Wars, and it came from one guy's head. So visionary, that's, influencer.
Sam Raimi.
Back to that style, man. Also tone. Sam Raimi is a master at tone. You watch that first Spider-Man or the second Spider-Man, he's able to go from comedy to drama in a second. And he's able to switch to horror to he has, again, that visual energy, that unique, I don't know, like he's just a master at tone. Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness are not easy films to make. Horror comedies are horrible most of the time, but he has a way of making it work, and props to him.
John Carpenter.
Another one of those influencers. Also, there's an intangibleness to John Carpenter. I watched The Thing again recently. There's just, John Carpenter knows what shots to make you feel what. He just like, he knows how to frame a scene just to make it feel real. The Thing is a masterclass in composition. If anyone wants to study like shot composition and editing, just like the way he chooses how to reveal information in a scene and how to depict something. John Carpenter is a visual master at that.
Quentin Tarantino.
Dialogue, obviously, but unabashed passion. I don't think anyone could say that Quentin Tarantino doesn't have passion. You listen to any interview from this guy, you listen to him talk, he has such, back to that reverence, he has such a reverence for film and a love for it that you can find bleeding on screen. But it's not only that, he has the talent so that it doesn't feel dumb. But you can see people who put homages in movies who have, or like people who say, "Oh, I love film, I'm a fan of it." That doesn't make you a good filmmaker. He's a great filmmaker, and he can put those homages in there. So passion, I love the passion from him.
Damien Chazelle.
He's the new Martin Scorsese in my head. It's just it's that energy. He just has such a visual. It's just like he chooses the perfect shots in terms of I'm someone who loves quick push-ins and dolly moves. You watch those scenes from Whiplash. If they ever make a Hamilton movie, I love Hamilton the musical.
Yeah.
There are two people I'd want to either make it, and it's either Martin Scorsese or Damien Chazelle, because it's just Damien Chazelle. Just like, and I loved La La Land. I unabashedly love it. It has its faults, I admit it, and culturally maybe there's more stuff surrounding it, but I unabashedly love that movie because there's still just this sense of, no, we're not just going to take the easy route and make this a typical movie. If we're going to have a scene with two people talking, it's not just going to be over the shoulder, close up. We're going to move this camera, get it in there, have every moment as impactful as it can be, and tell it as cinematic as possible.
And last but not least, Steven Spielberg.
I've never heard of him.
Really?
No. Again, back to that Joel Schumacher, but on a little bit of a better level. It's just he's diverse. He can switch those tones from horror to comedy to action. And Steven Spielberg is just smart. He is a very smart man in that he knows what makes a movie good. And the kind of lesson for any filmmaker is it's the script. He chooses good stories. He chooses good characters. Indiana Jones is a fun adventure film, but Indiana Jones himself, most of Spielberg's films, it's like there's always that grounding character to pull you along. And just Steven Spielberg just knows. He knows what makes a story work. And so kudos to him.
That's right. All right, and I guess we'll close it out with by asking what does the future hold for Patrick Hogue, and what can we expect as far as any upcoming projects?
That's an excellent question. So right now I'm graduating in a week. Wonderful. And that comes with its own fears and excitement. But June 25th, I'm moving out to LA. Probably going to be, starting entry-level positions, getting coffee for people, helping out on any freelance sets that I can. My goal is within 5 years to make a feature. And if it's 2 people, the simplest thing, right? A simple script with a couple of the people I'm moving out with who are, let me preface all this. I like the films I make because I work with the best people. And the people I'm working out with are far better writers than I am. And everything I write goes through them. And I'm working with them to hopefully come up with an idea that whether it's just 2 people walking along the sidewalk, whether it's a film that takes place exclusively in my friends' apartments, and if it's a film that can be shot within like 5 weekends while we're not working and we're all just scrambling to get a movie made. If I can make a feature within five years, something simple, that'd be cool. But right now I am writing an outline. I finished the first draft. I'm working on the second draft for this horror film that some point in my life I would love to make. It would be pretty dang cool. I like to be a modest person. I like to be kind of humble, but I really, really like this idea I came up with. But it would take a while and a couple movies to get people to trust me to make it. So yeah, a little tease for the future of something I'd like to make.
Very cool. So where can people find you on social media?
I gotta get a new Twitter handle, but my Twitter handle right now is CanadianPat493. It's a obscure number, but and if you go to Vimeo and just type in Patrick Hogue, you can find my Vimeo page that has all my films on it. I have a website right now that's patrickhogue.com. That's Hogue, not you people. It doesn't have a lot on it. I'm planning on updating that pretty soon. And yeah, that's about it.
All right. Sunday night at Carlson Auditorium, Sherman. I'm sorry?
Hopefully, no, just snapping, agreeing with you and all that. Hopefully at 4 p.m. That's what we're going for, but I'll keep people updated on Facebook.
Excellent. 4 o'clock Sunday night. Sherman will make its premiere at Carlson Auditorium on the campus of Rochester Institute of Technology. Patrick, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
And as always, to everyone else, if you like this and all my other videos, click the thumbs up button, subscribe to this channel. You can follow me on Twitter at @T_Hughes35. Add me on Instagram and Snapchat at the TMoney35. I am the one and only TMoney35. Have a great rest of your day, folks.